working this? What? 4? 3? No, 3. Okay. Let's start. Bez Hashem. Okay, so we have a lot to do. And I think we can do it. We have a lot to do. Today, what we'll try to do is to lay down I would say the seifim, all the yeda, all the halachas, all the pratim of the halachas. And then Bez Hashem, I mean, if we finish all today, then great. Then tomorrow, the next 2 days, we'll start with the Masechta or something. But if not, then we'll be able to put into, Lamaisa, all the different things that we spoke about today. Hopefully tomorrow will be clear. And then we have to figure out what to do on Tuesday. I'll figure it out. Now, first of all, somebody asked me a shayla like this. He asked me that what his minig is, his hanhaga, is that he takes silver foil and puts it, interesting, it seems like this is an Eitzah. He's talking, why the whole time I'm always talking about chalents burning out, you should do what I do. What is it that he does? He takes a piece of silver foil and puts it on it sounded like on the food, basically. It sounded like, here's the chalent pot, right? And the crack pot. He puts a piece of silver foil in the actual pot, right above the chalent, above the chalent. I couldn't figure it out. I think it means like, it's like lid number 1, basically, right? And then afterward, he puts the lid on. And basically what it does is the silver foil comes out a little bit, and that's what the Nussi would like everybody to know that he does also. Okay? And doesn't look like you're malnourished. Let me see what's going on over there. Looks like it works. Pause? No, wait, let's see. So he puts lid number 1 is the silver foil, and then he puts over it the glass lid. And that's how mine is. That's how I'm envisioning it. The glass lid. Does anybody else do this besides Nussi? No? Why do you do it, Nussi? Do you know why you do it? You don't even know. What? He's doing it. Well, that's why you're putting the silver foil on. Oh my goodness. So Nussi does it to keep the silver. Wow. This could be the day. Nussi does it in order to keep the heat in, because he's so nervous and so sahit that he's not going to have heat, that he puts one silver, he wants another layer, like a winter coat. He's afraid that it's not going to be hot. He's very nervous. This Yid, he does it for a different reason. I didn't even don that Shiloh because I didn't know that there's Jews that do that. He told me the reason he does it is he keeps the moisture in. He told me when he does this, so then there's no way he has to worry about the chalent drying out. It's not shaykh. He's had chalent for 20 years. It never dried out. That's what he told me. Since he started doing this, his chalent never dried out. Someone to tell him his wife's putting in a lot of extra water, but he tells me that it's never dried out ever since he put on the silver foil. So he asked me, why don't you just do that? That's the Eitzah. So what he's doing is that's mana. Don't forget, we have 3 walls around the fire. We have fire all around and fire on the bottom. And the only reason why this thing might not be called mana is because the top, in other words, the lid is not covered. So that's why possibly this isn't called mana, which we're going to have to elaborate on. That's a Hashem. But now it's totally covered. You have 4 walls around. You have walls around this way. You have walls on the bottom. You have fire all around. You have on top. Now, like I told you, what would be if you have a towel on top of the chalent pot, on top of the crock pot? You have a towel straight over the crock pot. Assuming it's not going to burn the house down, you have a towel over the crock pot. That's a very big avero, right? It could be like this limit chusim and whatever, but that's pretty bad. Right? Because now you're covered on all 4 sides. You have the heat going up. The towel just became a matmin agent. So you're a davar moisef on all sides. So l'chayra, that's what this Jew is doing. He has silver foil's lid number 1, and lid number 2 is no different than a towel. Why should l'chayra lid number 2? It should be a towel. L'chayra, everyone understand what the shayla is? Before you, Rabbi Samuels. But everyone understand the shayla? That l'chayra, lid number 1 is 1, you're entitled to 1 lid, whatever the hasber is, but you're entitled to a lid. And then on top, now the lid becomes a towel. Now, the way he described it to me, so we could be makel, because he's doing it to keep inside the liquid. That's the only reason he's doing it. He's not doing it for atmana purposes. And the regular lid, so we know the rules of the regular lid. Ramosha Feinstein, our Rebbe, told us that a regular lid is always not up for discussion. If it's a regular lid is always mutter. The lid underneath, so she's being done not for the purpose of atmana b'chlal. She's being done for the purpose of just like keeping out the rodents. So the same thing, keeping in the liquid. That's not called atmana, and therefore that's okay. What he's doing is okay. What about what Rabbi Samuels does? Rabbi Samuels doesn't do it like that. What Rabbi Samuels does is he has a second lid. It sounded like it's, I don't even care. I don't care why it's second lid. I don't care why. He does it for heat. Now what? I don't care. Let him do it for heat. Who cares? No, because that's the regular lid. In other words, once he's doing the silver foil for the purpose of keeping in the liquid, so that, where's your Maisat Mana? The silver foil to keep in the liquid, that's not a Maisat Mana. The lid, I don't care if you're using the regular lid, says Goin Rav Moshe, even for heat purposes and heat purposes alone. No. It's still definitely the regular lid. The glass lid is the regular lid. You put in something else. Imagine kivyachol, just musagim. Imagine you would take a piece of a paper towel, kitchen towel or something, and it soaks up the liquid or something and keeps it moist. I don't know what, something like that, right? So then it doesn't have a shame of atmana bichlal. So the silver foil that you're putting in there is like some type of a machine that keeps liquid in. It's not a matman agent. Elamai, now the lid. Lid's a lid. Lid, Ramosha told us already, lids are mutter. The problem is Nussi. I didn't even expect this. Right? This is beyond my, Nussi might be a troublemaker. Nussi might be a trouble. No, you can't rescind. Right? Nussi might be in big trouble. Because what Nussi does is, and it seems to be the Samuels all over the world that seem to do this, that he puts the silver foil in to keep in the heat. And then he puts on the cholent lid to put in the heat. Meaning the lid. So the lid doesn't bother me. The lid doesn't bother me. The silver foil maybe scares me a little bit. I know, the silver foil maybe scares me a bit. What? Usually take it off before Shabbos. I also don't believe him. I wasn't going to say it. That's not nice. I can just say it. He says he takes it off before Shabbos. Okay, say that. Yeah. What do you guys think? What do you think? This one, what? I don't think you ever falk either. I don't know if you ever falk. I don't know if you ever. I don't know. What do you say about Giuseppe? Doesn't sound great, no? Probably don't feel nice being in the same row as him, no? No. You guys, if you want, you can move rows. I'm not sure if you want to be that. I don't know. It doesn't sound very, very kosher to me. I don't know. Anybody want to be makel? The only way you can be makel is by explaining to me that the lid, the gzeres hakasser. Fine, say the lid doesn't bother me, but the silver, just from what? Conjunction? You're in conjunction. You're digging deeper and deeper. It's not like I can get better. You're making it worse. Right? What? My silver foil floor is the only thing you could down with here. My silver foil floor was that maybe today silver foil is do what you want with silver foil. And therefore, since silver foil is oimid for everything in the world, but it's still a little bit hard to say that svara when I already have a lid. You know what I mean? I don't, you know what? Should I say it a little differently? You know what's confusing about this Shaila? Did we ever find Hatzmana when Hatzmana is not the outer matman? It's like Shaloi Kederech Hatzmana Dikasvar. Maybe the only svar you could say over here is that this isn't Hatzmana because the Derech Hatzmana that we find is when you have Hatzmana on the outside of the pot, on the outside of the Kli. But maybe this doesn't have a shame of Hatzmana when it's on the inside of the Kli. I don't know how to dance such as Shaila. It's something I have to think about. In the meantime, I probably wouldn't do it. But that's case number one. Case number two is, case number two is okay, Maisa, what came out the other day is Taka to take a piece of silver foil and wrap a piece of potato kugel or something, right? And to go and put it on top of the hot plate is mutter. Right? They take a piece of silver potato kugel and wrap it and put it on the hot plate is mutter. Okay. Right? We saw silver foil is ointment for everything. So we saw that would be mutter, or even probably according to Rav Moshe today. Someone told me that the cheshbon I made, that the great Goinim, the children of Rav Moshe, said the same thing about their father, that he would have also been makel today about silver. Okay, maybe this, I don't know. But to me, it was pashut that when you see that other tshuva, that silver foil, which is oimid for everything. So then today, even if whatever your kavan is, when you're wrapping the potato kugel, at least if it's one layer, that didn't bother me. But I have to stress something, which I didn't stress the other day. The chayra, it's only if you're putting on one layer. If you start wrapping around and around, like, so you ask the person, why are you wrapping around? So if the person's just wrapping it around because like minig of saying they're not even thinking, okay, seder. So that's like anything that it's just wrapping, and they're just, sometimes people, they're not makbid on baltashkas, and they just like wrap around and around and they're not even thinking. Okay. But sometimes you ask the fellow, why are you wrapping it? So he says, because I want it to be very warm. So then the first layer I hear is a kli. The second layer is already, that silver foil is now, that's already shver. That's using it as a matman agent. That would be a problem. But Falkus Levracha, he once said an eitzah in the sukkah. Remember the eitzah? He had an eitzah. What? No, what? No, not to use one long piece. Okay, he said that's a problem. I think he said that's a problem to wrap around and around. No, what he said was like, what I remember. He said that, yeah, he says when you take the silver foil and you wrap it into itself before you put it on the food and make it into a kli. Make the silver foil into a thick vessel, and then put the potato kugel into that vessel that you made. So he understood that that's considered a kli, that's allowed. And it's going to do the same purpose. Everybody understand what I'm saying? In other words, as opposed to taking the silver foil and wrapping around and around and around, but if you take it and you first make it into a kli, and then afterward, now it's a kli, it's a thick kli, it's going to be able to hold it. But every food is entitled to one. That's the way Falk learns, or the way, let's say, Rabbi will tell us that the pshat is that, it's tzur of a kli, it's tzur of a kli, and silver foil, which is aimed for a tzur of a kli, is maybe, that's, I was thinking maybe it's a machlekes for Falk and Rabbi. I'm not 100% sure. As Falk says, every food is entitled to one kli. There's a chazanish like that, and therefore it's mutter. Moshe held that the pshat is that silver foil is something that's oimid for every usage. Since silver foil is oimid for every usage, like we keep saying, since silver foil is oimid for every single usage, so therefore it doesn't have a shame of atman. But just a moment, it doesn't have a shame of atman. When I take silver foil and I wrap it, so then what's the pshat? It's true that I'm doing it for heat, but the first kli, Chazal always mattered. Why they matter the lid? Because that's its normal usage. It doesn't have a tzura satmana. It's more of a tzura of a kli. Maybe, I guess, if you make a kli, maybe even according to Moshe, there'd be mucking to be makel. What do you want to say? Sorry? So let's say he has no kavanah like that at all. He's thinking about one thing, just to make it. Okay, but that's a shtickle le'etza. Okay, is that crystal clear? Crystal clear. Now I need a shulchan aruch. We have Mishabrovit. Oh, what's this? No. Ah, thank you. Oh, but you touched it. No? Okay. So now that, look, Rabbi say, Siv Gimel, it's not Senegeya. Not Senegeya. Elu Dvarim Shemasifim Hevel. Silas Shel Zaysim. That's interesting. Rabbi Spire is asking me, are you allowed to make a kli on Shabbos? It's an interesting shot. How do you allowed to take silver foil and fashion it into a kli on Shabbos? It's an interesting shot, huh? It's an interesting shot. Huh? Sorry? I don't know. Maybe misatik and mana, maybe even to make something and fashion into a kli. I don't know. No, when you're wrapping it, it comes from Mela, it's one thing, but he's saying your mom's fashioning it into a kli. Have you ever right to do that on Shabbos? What? Sorry? Rabbi said, can I take a toothpick, break it in half because I want it to be sharp on one side? That's an Issa D'Oraisa. Why is it different? I'm saying, here's even worse, right? Here's mamish making a kli. Where's Duvi? He's hiding over there. He didn't get dressed yet, it looks like. All right, sure. Answering interesting questions. Make sure you say Birchas HaTorah even though you're not dressed. I don't know. It's an interesting shayla, Duvi. Duvi, I ask you, before you met me in a billion years, would you have asked such a question? Probably not. No? I'm sorry. That's interesting shayla. What's going on here? There's a machlekes between the evil twin brothers. Yossi's asking the question, not Duvi. and Yossi's the one who's naked. Sorry, everybody. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry, Duvi. No, it's an interesting shayla. How are you allowed to make a kli on Shabbos? By Falk, we heard it from a Falk's mouth, no? Oh, you know what? I shouldn't say that. Maybe Falk was talking Erev Shabbos. I don't remember. What was Falk talking about? I remember if he was talking Erev Shabbos or on Shabbos? I don't know. Interesting shayla. Okay, let me think about it. It's not the... I don't know, it's interesting shayla. Okay, now, by say, what's the gay over here? In Siv Gimel, it talks about these things that make, Shum Shemim, Zevel Melech, all these things that they get very, very hot. Is this nagay at all? The only thing I can think of nagay is one thing. Rabbi Levin, do you plan on taking your cholent and wrapping it in dung? I don't think so. No, it doesn't sound right. No. Rabbi Wildman, do you have this fertilizer that you're going to wrap your crock pot in? I don't think so. Where's Rabbi Gindi? He's hiding somewhere. You? They do that by this vitamin? I don't think so. The mirror and the deer? The only time this is ever negaya was when, when I had to make a very, very big decision. Very big decision. Right? When the first child was born. Right? So after took the first child and, my wife said, change the baby. change the baby. So, okay, change the baby. You said, she said, change that. I changed. So after I came back, I walked back into the room and she says, what happened? I go, oh, you made again? She says, I come from a long line of men that don't change babies. What should I tell you? That's what they did in the high. I don't know. But then I learned this Shulchan Aruch, and then I changed my hashkafa. I would call her and make sure she comes home to change the baby. Why? Because over here it says that Zevel is something that burns. You ever wonder why a baby gets, a starker rash and things like that, and diaper rashes and stuff like that? Because it says first over here in Shulchan Aruch that the Zevel. I asked this question to the doctor. He told me 100%. Told me yesh mishnah kasot. I told me I shouldn't the mishnah. He's all excited. But it's not good. There's a mishnah that says that Zevel makes it all hot and causes. You understand how these things work. I guess it works on your cholent also. But akapanim, that's what it says here. That's Sif Gimel, Rabbi Isai. I think we should go weiter. Sif Dalid. And Sif Dalid. So I'm going to summarize Sif Dalid, and then we'll read it inside. Let's just summarize Sif Dalid. Rabbi Isai, the halacha is you're allowed on Erev Shabbos to wrap your chicken soup in blankets. Some people do this, Rabbi Say. Some people, your neighbors over here, they zikr do it. You Shami guys do it, it's for sure. Because, who wants to keep a hot plate on? It's 40 degrees Celsius out there, Rabbi Say. Who wants to keep a hot plate? That's like 120 degrees. Who wants to keep a hot plate on in this type of a weather? Who wants to keep a hot plate on in this weather? So you just take the chicken soup, you wrap it inside a blanket, and shalom al Yisrael. Now, the halacha is, if you wrapped it on Erev Shabbos, and listen, heed my words, Rabbi Say. I'm going to tell you a bunch of halachas now, because this is Nagaya. You've decided to ever do this. Person goes away for Shabbos. It's Nagaya. Sometimes you go away for a place, you go to some goyish, like a house or something, you're renting, whatever. So they, you kasher the stovetop, whatever, in order to just put pots on it. But you don't have a hot plate and whatever, and you don't know what's going on with their ovens and this and that. So now you just want to have hot food. So you just wrap it in a blanket. You learned these gemaras, and now you know to wrap it in a blanket. Okay. So what happens? You get daven, the kid starts crying, the kid wants chicken soup or whatever. No? So now, says the Shulchan Aruch, it's a gemara. You unwrap it, take out the chicken soup, you're allowed to wrap it. Number one. Number two, once it was wrapped, when Shabbos came in, it's mutter to rewrap. Number two, what happens? It got taken off. How did it take it off? The kid was very interesting. What's all this blanket on the floor? Kid took it off. Nobody had intention to put it back. Mutter to rewrap it. Case number two. Even if it wasn't unwrapped, I'll das to rewrap it. Okay? Even if, next, case number three, I took it off and I didn't plan on rewrapping it. She opens up the wrapping and she says, wait, let's not have soup now. We'll have soup afterward and whatever. And then she planned on taking off the wrappings, the gamre. No, you could rewrap it once it was wrapped in Erev Shabbos. So then the halacha is, even if you took it off, doesn't make a difference. Mutter to rewrap. You can add another blanket. It's already wrapped. You could put on another blanket. You want to wrap it more. That's it. Add. That's case number four. What about if on Erev Shabbos it was wrapped and then it came off on Erev Shabbos? So now there's a big machlekes rishonim. After the dust settles, the way we paskin is it doesn't matter what your kavanah was, doesn't matter how it fell off. If as when Shabbos came in, it was not wrapped, so then you're not allowed to rewrap it. Is that crystal clear? So now you know everything. So I'll read you the Shulchan Aruch, and it's very simple. If Erev Shabbos you wrap the chicken soup, vinis galo, and it was unwrapped as of when Shabbos came in, mutter lachser l'chatzaisai. You're allowed to rewrap it. The kain, if you want to add, mutter to add. The kain ratalito kula v'laseit, and if you want to take it out and put it inside a different wrapping, no problemo. Is there a shash about this? But that's how we pass it. Akapanim, you're allowed to go and rewrap it. Bein sharishim cham yoiser, even if the second wrapping is a better wrapping, bein if it's a less wrapping. Even if it was wrapped, you hear this? In a sadin. It was wrapped in a sheet. Now you can go and wrap it in a glufkarin. Who knows what a glufkarin is? What's a glufkarin? Okay, that'll be your homework. The who? What? Yeah, coat, but what kind of coat? Come on. The who should have batched like a dairy coat. This is only, of course, that it's fully cooked. But if it's not fully cooked, so then no, because obviously what's going to happen if it's not fully cooked? So now al yudei keeping the heat in, that's how the base mayor of the Bir Halacha brings down, explains this halacha, that if you put on a lid, you're going to keep it hotter longer, and therefore it's going to cause it to cook. Even, it's not going to allow it to cool down. And the male is going to cause it to cook, go from Einam Bevushal Kol Tzarchai to possibly higher levels. Okay, this is, like I told you, most of what I said is Mefresh and Shulchan Aruch. The Mishabura says in Kafeh you could do it lechatchila, like I mentioned. Aruch HaShulchan and Chav says even if you didn't plan on recovering it. Shmir Shabbos and Aleph Reish Lamed Ches brings down from Rishlaim Zalman, even if you put that chicken soup on the floor. You know, you took it out of its wrapping and you put it on the table. What's the floor? The floor base is the table. You put it on the living room table and then you decide, nah, I don't want it. Go rewrap it. Mutter Gomer, as long as she was wrapped on Erev Shabbos. On Erev Shabbos. Is that crystal clear? Steve Dallas, any questions on that? If yes, I'll answer. If not, we'll go weiter. Any questions? Come again? No, nothing to do with the Ran. I mean, this is mutter according to everybody, and this is mutter lechatchila according to everybody. Here is mutter gomer lechatchila according to everybody. Again, very simple. Once it was wrapped on Erev Shabbos, it's mutter to rewrap it, to add wrappings, to change wrappings. Hakol, bakol, mikol. Erev Shabbos, if it was wrapped and it came off before Shabbos came in, then hakol asur. Crystal clear? No, I think it's very simple. Excuse me, what? Pashas has to be fully wrapped. Yeah. Pashas got to be fully wrapped. I mean, but come again? No, that's something else. That's a moisif hevel. We said that as a din of a moisif hevel. Wait a minute, it's on the stovetop is hot? What, the fire is not hot? Ah, that's an interesting case. Yeah, okay. And what? And the top is covered? And you put a towel on it? Now that's probably a problem. We'll talk about that because safe, there's heat coming in and the towels catch. It's an interesting case. Now he's saying that he has a case of where the oven is on and it's boiling hot in the oven. On the outside it's hot, and then the towel chaps the heat into the towel. So that's probably included in what it says in Sif Ches, that the towel becomes a Davar Moisef Hevel. That's probably. Sorry? I'm not sure. It's a new shaila that I didn't think of. It sounds to me like it should be Oster, but we'll take things as we get them. We'll get to Sif Ches. We'll discuss it. Let's see. That's Sif Dalid. Sif Hey. Again, this part I want to go through fast. It's not as Sugidik. Sif Hey, we basically discussed. Sif Hey, I'll read you outside first, and then I'll tell it to you inside. Everyone's okay with that? Are you okay with that? Yeah? Okay. You're kind. You should come first. You're okay with that. So there's the new sugya pina mimechem lemechem. We spoke about this. Right? This is unlike the sugya pina mimechem lemechem by the case of Chazara. By pina mimechem by the case of Chazara, that was machlekes, safek in the Gemara. Here, what does it mean? I take from my urn, and that's the kli rishon we'll call it. Now I take the water out and I put it into a kli sheni. So the halacha is now you're allowed to wrap that kli sheni. Okay, that's pina mimechem. Why are you allowed to wrap that? On Shabbos, we're never allowed to wrap things. So that seems to be a machlekes. Rambam, Rashi spoke out. Rambam says it's a kli sheni. Xeris akasav. Kli sheni is cold. Once it's cold, mutter to wrap cold things. That's it. We see you're not so crazy. You're not going to go and check if it's boiling and come to go and cause trouble over here. Because hooray, you know that you're putting it into cliche. Maisa, Rashi sounds not like that. Rashi sounds like you have to have kavana to cool it off. Rashi sounds like not like that. The Rambam is the psak halacha. Says the Igros Moshe and Aleph Tzadihei. But nicely, you see over here, it sounds like anyways, the Ikar Pais can sound like that's the psak halacha, like the Rambam. But Moshe says, no, but a year of Shemayim should try to get Rashi. Shouldn't a year of Shemayim try to get Rashi? You learn Rashi all day long. Don't you think it's respectful to try to get Rashi Shita? If that's what you learn all day long, where would you be? I turned to my son the other day. They were learning a Gemara Baba Kama on Dafna Gimel. I told him, do you realize it's impossible to understand this Gemara without Rashi? So he says to me, no, you can have a Mesifta. So I told him, no, but I told him without a Mesifta, there's really no chance. Without the Mesifta having had the Rashi, if the Mesifta Volta Gevend, the Mesifta Nishkahatkin Rashi, it's like sometimes you have a Gemara. It's impossible to understand the Gemara without Rashi. There are some Gemaras that's borrowed, that's just straight Ruach HaKodesh. There's some. Sometimes, you could hear that Rashi got that shot. It's not, they could have heard a different shot and whatever. It's not, But sometimes it's straight Ruach HaKodesh. There's no pshat in the Gemara without Rashi. It's like, no pshat. You can't even read the words. It's impossible, right? So don't you think it's respectful to try to keep Rashi Shita? Rashi Shita. You have to have a little respect. So Rabbi Moshe says, so therefore, if you take the hot water and you pour it into the klisheni, and your kavana is you want to stay hot, then maybe you won't be allowed to wrap it according to Rashi. What's the nafkamina? Sorry, I think it was Aleph Tzadiyeh. It was the one that we quoted already. Aleph Tzadiyeh, I think it was. So Moshe in that tshuva is discussing the thermos. We spoke about it. Moshe is discussing the thermos. Now I'll tell you the few reasons why the Paiskim all discussed the thermos. There were Paiskim from the Friyad Kedairos that asked, where's the Nageh? I told you it's Nageh all the time. Person has an urn, and somebody knocks on his door, and he asks him, "Could I have hot water from the urn? Can I have hot water from the urn?" And you tell him, "Look, not only I'm going to do your chesed, I'm going to do your grace chesed. I could just bring you a cup. This is aim level chesed. But obviously, if a yid is knocking on the door on Friday night and he needs water, hot water, so then he's going to need probably later also. And at 2:00 in the morning, he's not going to be able to come and knock on the door, right? So you bring him a grace thermos and you pump out half of your urn, and then you give him this yid, and now he's got water for what a gavaldik chesed. According to the Rambam, you did a wonderful chesed and you were Mekayim Moedik Shabbos. According to Rashi, you're a Rosh Hashanah. Because it meant you were over on Nisad Rabbanan of Atmana. No, I should, that's how the Shevet HaLevi learns. It's telling you the Machlekes Rashi and the Rambam. And then according to Rashi, you're Rosh Hashanah. Because what did you do? You were Pina, Mimecham, Lemecham, without having the Kavanah to cool it down. Why is this thermos called a Matmin agent? Why not? Mali, if I bring the Hatmana to the Kli, Mali, if the Hatmana is already surrounding the Kli, that's how most Achreinim learn the Shaila. That's what. So again, according to Ramesh, he says, Lefi Rambam, it should be Mutter Gomer, but everybody wants to get Rashi. And Lefi Rashi, it should be Aser. Your Shemaim should be Machmer like Rashi. So Ramesh goes on to say new Svar. All these new Svars that I'm going to say now are to make it that at least if you want to do like Rashi, you won't be a Rosh Gomer. So Ramesh's Svar, that's the first Svar that we spoke about. Ramesh said, what's B'chal the Shaila? I'm taking the water, I'm putting it into a Kli. Was I ever on money when I did that? When I take the water and it's open now, was I over? At what point are you being matmin? Until the point where the lid is closed, that's not called atmana for sure now, right? So atmana, it's not atmana, we call it atmana mitzad echad. It's not atmana, you have to have a full atmana. So I say, shtal zich vor, I have over here, this is my thermos, I poured inside the water, the hot water, the urn, and now the top is open. That's atmana. What for atmana is this? The heat is going out. That's not derech atmana. There's still heat going out. Says Ramesh, at what point does it become atmana? When I cover the lid. At that point, now it becomes atmana. At that point, I was, mafil that the entire matmin agent over here, the entire what's the word in English for atmana? What's the word? Is there a word? Insulation. I was pile that the whole entire insulation is an insulator. Okay. Says Ramesha, no. But what did you do? You put the lid on. No. Lids are mutter. Ramesha, just a moment. Ramesha said lids are mutter. Lids are mutter. And Schwalbe asking, what do you mean? Between the lid and the actual liquid is a space. Doesn't that money have to be, okay, but that type of space is not going to bother us so much because, that's mamish. Don't forget that you have here the insulator on the little in the lid and whatever. That becomes like, the insulator of the kli. So Ramesh says, so there's no point that you're over an atmana. When you put it into the kli, you weren't over an atmana. When you closed it, you weren't over an atmana. Ramesh is not willing to accept that when we close it, at that point, it's considered a matman. Ramesh says, to pour it in, mutter. Afterward, to put on the lid, mutter. So then mutter plus mutter equals mutter. Ramesh is not willing to accept that. You pour it in, and then you put the lid, and the lid turned it into one big matman agent. So Ramesh says, according to the Rambam, mutter. If you're Yerushalayim, you want to get Rashi. According to Rashi, mutter. Is that clear? Crystal clear? That's a sheet of Moshe. So let me say a few sheets first. That's a sheet of going with Moshe. That's a sheet of Moshe. The Shevet HaLevi in Aleph Tzadi Gimel, he brings down, like I told you, that's that Shevet HaLevi. In the Chazain Ish, he goes to be Machmir. He goes on to be Machmir. Shevet HaLevi goes on to be Machmir. Ayin Sham. The Chazain Ish, in Lamed Zayin, I wrote here, Lamed Aleph, I'm not sure what I wrote here. The Chazain Ish, I'm not sure what I wrote here. The Chazain Ish is at the end of Lamed Zayin. I'm not sure what I wrote over there. But the Chazain Ish over there says that, first of all, we paskin like the Rambam. It doesn't bring down like, a Yerushalayim is Machmir like Rashi. And we paskin like the Rambam. That's first of all, right? And it's a safe. It's a cliche. That's it. Mutter. Cliche is mutter to be matmin. That's the Chazain Ish has another side. He says there. He says interesting. Great. If I understood it correctly, you'll see inside and tell me if I understood it correctly. He says another side that maybe the only time you have a tmana is when I put something into a kli, and then I matmin the kli. Chazain Ish has it sad that if I pour straight into a matmin, that's not, you didn't do a maisa tmana. Interesting Chazain Ish. In other words, the only time you have a tmana is when, I have a kli, I have food in a kli, or even an egg, let's say, right? And I take that item and I matmin it. But Chazain Ish has it sad that when I'm pouring into a vessel, doing iroi straight into that tmana, like it's not a derech tmana. It's interesting. What? What? That for sure is not a problem. What do you mean? Well, that's what I was. So I was thinking, the Chazon Ish, it sounds to me, it's very good. I have these hot water bottles, right? You know, I'm going to talk about these things in a moment, but a real hot water bottle. I don't mean a thermos. I mean, you know, it has like that rubber thing and has the spout coming out. You know, that little mouth coming out, and then it has a little sweater, like an urn sweater, like we spoke about, right? Like a doggy sweater type of thing for a thermos sweater, right? So this urn sweater, this hot water bottle sweater, you pour the water straight in with the matman there. Right? Let's try and work this out. If you have the Chazon Ish svara, pouring straight into a kli, and then afterward you just close it, you know. The Chazon Ish has this new svara that, you know, when what? You need to do a Maisa Tmana. No, say that. Mali, if I bring Lule the svara, Mali, if I bring the matman to the food, Mali, if I, you know, put the food straight into a matman agent, like, you know, it's not a buchak tek svara, right? I'm just thinking about how awesome a svara this is. It means that if I have a pot inside my kupa, you know, just think of the case of the Gemara, right? You know, it's much more scary when you think of the case of the Gemara. When you have a pot inside the case of the kupa, so if you this, you can take the child, put it inside, and then close it. You know, it sounds like a wild chiddush. That Chazon Ish sounds like he was saying to me. Was? We're talking about klisheni right now. Well, so kli rishon, the only time that we make, how do you have a kli rishon case? How did I get? Let us see. How's it go? What? What's the case? Anyways, what? Yeah, I mean, you heat up the pot. Heat up the pot. And then, give me a second, but I don't want to lose my train of thought. That could be a case, but it's a weird guy. But give me 1 second. You should probably be arrested, a strange fellow like that. He's probably dangerous and you wouldn't want to live next door to him. But 1 second. Is everybody's like, so, no, it just comes out to feed this Chazon Ish. I always envisioned a different svara over here, but I didn't see anyone that says it. You could have heard a svara. It's the same idea as the Chazon Ish. You could have heard a svara that when a pot has a doggy sweater on it, you know, a pot sweater, you know. So then you could have heard a svara. It's like it's one thick pot, you know, one thick pot. That type of svara. It's the same idea as the Chazon Ish. That's the same idea. But there's no muchach dik as far as these svaras. There's not muchach. Just one moment. The fear of Moshe. We still have Ramosha's cooler, right? In my doggy sweater matziv, right? Still have the Ramosha, right? Because when I poured it in, at the point when I poured it in, the heat still comes out. At that point, no Esser, right? And then after I put the lid on, lids are mutter, right? So you still have that. Sounds to me like such a thing is mutter. Sounds to me like such a thing is mutter. Just give me 1 moment. Let me just finish my train of thought. So what are we coming out? Tachlis. So tachlis, thermos. Are you allowed to put things straight into a thermos? Let's see. The fi the Rambam mutter. The fi Rashi, it should have maybe been aser. Should have been aser. And that was saying, one svar is until I put the lid on. So then anyways, it's not going to be makel. And the second svar we're saying is the Chazon Ish. That what? The Chazon Ish said that when I'm pouring straight in, maybe that's okay. The Chazon Ish had another svar, don't forget. Chazon Ish had a svar. Yeah, Chazon Ish says we straight pass like that. I'm like, okay. So what's enough community so we could be making on this? No, I just tell you, I had one thing. I was thinking, it's unrelated, I just realized, but I'll say it anyways. It's unrelated. Everybody say, some people, what they do is they take a hot water bottle and they put it in their bed, under their blanket. Why do they put it under their bed, under their blanket? Because it warms the bed. Sometimes he remembers on Shabbos he didn't do it. He remembers on Shabbos he didn't do it. I don't know, so it is related, so it's not bad. He remembers on Shabbos he didn't do it, and he wants to do it now. He wants to do it. Is he going to be allowed to do this on Shabbos? What do you think? If you are sick, it's a nice shot. It's a good shot for a test. You know what I mean? Huh? And then he takes the towel, the blanket, right? And he covers it. It's chayar tatmana, no? What? Wait, but Manashach, we just said it's not atmana, so this is the first kisui. You just said the reason why it's mutter is because you never did atmana yet. So then this is the first kisui.
So then fill it up under a blanket.
Was? You just said a weird thing in public. What? Oh, very good. So Rabbi Lieberman says it's mutter. Why? Says Rabbi Lieberman, Rabbi Grossman, you say it's mutter. Why is that? Rabbi Lieberman says it's mutter. He says that you're not doing it to keep the water hot. You're doing it to heat up the bed. It's not bad. Not bad. It could be a temis. Could be a temis. You hear? Why not? You're not doing it to keep the water. Rabbi Zinger, you're causing trouble. You're not doing it to keep the water hot. You're doing it to keep. No, you're mamish not. You're doing it to. You deal with him. You're not doing it to keep the water hot. You're doing it so that the under your blanket should be warm. You can believe it? Huh? It's right. It's a good svar, no? Yeah, it's a good svar. You guys agree it's a good svar? They agree. The guys watching TV agree. Rabbi Elbaz, you agree? You TV watcher, you agree? It's a good svar. Chacham Victor says it's a good svar. Tuvi Svar says it's also. There he is again with his chumras. Maybe get dressed. Huh? Heating. But dual kavana? Why is it dual kavana? I'm not interested in the water at all. No, I'm not. You guys are such moridik alamdanim. I'm thinking of one thing: hot bed. That's all I think about. Sorry? What? That's what about the second middle on the thermostat? What about what? The second middle on the thermostat. I mean, because it has that and then it has that. The cup itself, no, but I know what he's talking about. Sometimes it's not just a cup. You don't mean the cup ones. The cup ones aren't that scary because the cup one is not, it doesn't do anything. It's first of all, there's a gap. I'm not afraid of it. But you mean sometimes they have the ones that are taka. No, but usually when they have that, it's one, right? Yeah, so okay, so then it's okay. Then we're good. We're good, right? We're good?
I don't know.
Why not? We're not good? No, I think we're good. That one has a gap. The one that's a cup has a gap. I'm not afraid of you. Now we're good? Okay. Is Rabbi side? Okay, let me get fight. Rabbi side, don't have time. We have to go fight. We have 3 working days left. We don't even have 3 anymore. It's probably like 2.5 by now, no? Yeah. Sif Zayin, we spoke about, I'm saying. Zion is when we asked her, I told you, B'diavad, we're about to get into crackpots and the real stuff over here, everybody say. B'diavad, in the end of the day, you come to a house. You don't know anything. You know there's something about Rosh Hashanah Zalman and the crackpot and whatever. In the end of the day, and you know, Schwager, she's not into any of this Atmana stuff. She takes the crackpot, she puts the cholent into the crackpot, into the pot, into the heating element. She covers it with a towel. I mean, this is Mamish Hatmana City, you know. But you know, at the end of the day, and you want to know Shabbos there, you're allowed to eat the cholent. So you know that it probably was Michael ben Drusai anyways, by the time that Shkia hit anyways, right? You know that the cholent is being cooked for tomorrow. Yeah, you know it's anyways, and she's a shoygig. She's an Omer Mutter on everything she does, right? So, you know, so man, as a fight, we're never going to ask her b'diavad kima in the case of Atmana. The only way, if you have a Zal Goynish Shviger, that she put the cholent in, and it was only under a third cooked by the time Shkia hit. And no, but so what? It's for tomorrow. We always have the heter of tomorrow. It's almost impossible. I don't know a case unless your shviger decides we're having cholent tonight, right? Then you should divorce your shviger. You know, then you know it's not again because we're always. My point is that whatever heterim b'di'evid we had of shehiyah, we have by Atmana to not make a knas. That's what you have to remember for the rest of your life. That's what happens when you put Sif Aleph and Sif Zayin together. Sif Ches. Okay, now we start. Let's start the Shiur, okay? So, boss, what's Sif Aleph? Sif Alef's hard? What are you doing to me? What? Matmin Sainin? What are you doing over here? What? What's he doing? There's one shaila you can ask. Could you matmin a dover gush? What's the shaila? Because dover gush, when you put a dover gush into a klisheni, a dover gush always has a din of a klirishan. So maybe it doesn't have a din of a tzainin. We are makel though, the Maisa. Maisa makel. What? The fart epis, it does get a little bit cold. And epis is that they say. Mishabur has another need in here. It says, let's say you have a kli rishon and it goes under yatsa lettuce by. You have a kli rishon and it went down. You have your chicken soup that we spoke about before, and it went down under yatsa lettuce by, right? So that, and not the case that you did it on Shabbos, right? The case where it wasn't wrapped before Shabbos, It was not wrapped before Shabbos. So he wants to say in the Shabura that once it goes under Yatzalet, it's got B'Shas Atchak, was it Tzarek Gadol or something? B'Shas Atchak, we make all that has a din of Tzoinin. Chazanish says it's even L'chatchila. You understand what I'm saying? Right? No, Kli Rishon, once it hits under Yatzalet, this boy has a din of Tzoinin. Mishabura says only B'Diavad, it's not so L'chatchila, maybe B'Shas Atchak. Chazanish says it's even L'chatchila. It's even L'chatchila. What? This was the right. Yeah, this is the right. That it's Meikra Din. Whoever chaps that, it's good. Whoever doesn't, it's also good. Okay. Now we start. Let's start this year. What should we do? I talk about Kishka. We got a lot to talk about today. Okay. So you know, Shulchan Aruch Sif Ches is based on the Gemara. Yeah, what do we have? We have 20 minutes. Okay, let's see what we can do. The Shulchan Aruch Sif Ches is based on the Gemara. Okay. Okay. We have a watch here. Good. The Shulchan Aruch Sif Ches is based on the Gemara. The Gemara seems to talk about you have a kupa, you have a box. You've heard this from me many times already. You have to get shot now. You have a box, and this box is on shumshimin, is on some type of a hot, right? Or on the dong or some other gewaldige zach. And now it says over there that this is aser, and it seems to say this is aser even on Erev Shabbos. So now we know this thing is a din of a davar moisif hevel. Because if it's also Erev Shabbos, then we know it's also even a davar moisif. It has to be a davar moisif hevel. Because Erev Shabbos, it's mutter lahat min with the davar she'ena moisif hevel. So what is this thing? So there's a big fight over here. Is it because we're dealing, like we saw many times, right? We're dealing with things that you could be matmin into. You could be matmin into, it has like a shumshimim that you could just put it in and we're afraid you're going to do that. Okay. There was some type of a minig in the Ashkenazic regions where they used to take food, seemingly they would wrap this food, and seemingly they would put it inside an oven that was garif. And we're going to talk about Rabbi Levin, your case in a moment. They would wrap it and seemingly they would put it inside a gariftik oven and it would keep it hot. It seems to be there was some Germanic tradition to do this. And this was a source of great controversy. What is this? Why are they allowed to do this? The way we explained what the Yisr is that if you have something wrapped and you have a heat source underneath, so then it makes it on machtas taka that the entire towel becomes a matmin b'davar ha'moisiv hevel. And then this comes one big davar ha'moisiv hevel. And this is what intrigued all of the Rishonim, and they had to deal with and say different svaras to explain what's pshat in this Germanic minik. Okay, that's basically in a nutshell what's going on over here. Okay, everyone, so there's different svaras over here. I'll call it an oven that's grufa. So one svar right away, what's the one svar you know right away? Because since it's not shaykh to be, they said it's not the pshat like I keep explaining to you that the whole thing becomes a davar moisif hevel. They explained that the pshat is it has to be that you're able to dunk it inside the matmin agent, which is not shaykh inside an oven. Not shaykh to go and be matmin inside an oven. It's impossible. So therefore, this wasn't asr. That's what one svar they say was. The Rosh has a svar here. It's hard to read a lot of these Rishonim. The Rosh has a svar here, which you're not sure if he's saying a separate svar. It sounds like he's saying both svars together. The Rosh says a svar that since this is the place where they cook all day, this is the lashon of the Rosh. Since this is the place where they cook the food all day, the oven is where they cook the food all day. And he says, so then we consider it a hemshich of the shehiyah. We consider it a hemshich of the cooking process. Kivyachal, as if to say, we don't see that this fellow is so sehitzed. Those svarah that we said why when he's wrapping it, we're scared of him. Because he's so sehitzed. He's so nervous, he's wrapping it. We don't see that. The pshat is, it's the end of the cooking process. So the end of the cooking process doesn't show us that he's so meshigah. Okay, and then he writes words, Void, you can't dip it into the karka. You have to know what he means here. Is he saying a separate svar? Is he trying to say, the point is, look where he's doing it. He's showing us, I'm not doing it with coals. You see, I'm not some Michigan who's so bothered about the heat and everything, and he's going to come to stoke. He's going to come to dunk it into the coals. He's just keeping it in the region. It's like a hemshich of the process. We'll see. This is very nigayah soon. Maybe klape crackpots. This is the place where he cooks it and whatever. We'll see. But that says the Rosh. Lefi that was the understanding in this Germanic minig that they used to, or French minig, but we have to see. Then there's another svar, Rabbeinu Baruch, one of the Sefer Truma, the Bali Taisis, is in the south of France over there, and they also seem to have had this minig. And he says, I'll tell you what the pshat is, because they're putting it in an oven that's off. That's a grufa, right? And it sounds familiar by Levin. Your oven is on, that you were talking about. This oven's off. So he said, this is miskarer the hoilich. It's going down. It's going down. So Yosela, the famous Mayel, once told me, how do I decide how do I do a bris? How do I decide to do a bris? Don't tell me with numbers, yellow, green. I don't care about any of these things. Right? God, if the kid's green, take him right to a hospital. But man, I don't care about yellow and the numbers and the billies and the Rubens. Man, I don't go with this stuff. You tell me, how do I do a bris? I want to know one thing. The number yesterday was 46. I just want to know it's going down. If it's going down, I'm making the bris. Right? If the numbers aren't going down, they're staying the same. They're going up, then I'm not making the bris. Over here, it's miskarer v'hoilech. This oven is going down. She's going down. Then I'm not aware. He's not in the process. He's not sehetzt. Okay. What's the nafkamina of all these svaras, my friends and family? I'm running out of family. One of them just went to America. Okay. What's the nafkamina of all these svaras? The nafkamina is your blech and your hot plate. Okay. I want that case that we keep talking about. You have a cholent pot and you take a towel and you drape it over, and let's say you just cover it around. I'm not getting involved. We'll get the lemaisa on how much it's covered. Let's say it's totally covered or whatever. So now let's see all the svaras one by one. Could I dip it inside the blech? Can't dip it inside the blech. Can I? Is it miskar v'hoilech? Is it miskar v'hoilech? No, that's called a broken blech, a broken hot plate, right? It's not miskar v'hoilech. We don't have that svar. It's not miskar v'hoilech, right? So then we don't have that svar. It's not going down, right? What was the other svar we saw? The Rosh Svar that it's a hemshich of the bishul. I'm not sure what that is. That's Svar of the Rosh. I don't know what that is. I'm not sure. Same place. I don't know. You don't cook on the butt, right? I don't know. I don't know if you have the Rosh over here. Hemshich of the Shiur. I don't know. I'm not sure. So the Mishnah Berurah brings like this. It's a very long Mishnah Berurah, a very violent looking Mishnah Berurah. It's got like 8, 9, 10 large lines over here. And he brings out, let's read the Shulchan Aruch now. That's what's fair, right? Afal Pisha Motel the Shois Kedera Gabi Kiva Sheish B'Gechalim Al Pi the Drachim that we explained in Reish Nun Gimel. Even though you're allowed to do Shehiyah, like we explained. But if it's Mechuzeh B'Begadim, Afal Pisha B'Gadim Einim Mosifim Hevel Machmas Atzmam Mikol Magam Machmas Ha'Eish Tachteim it's Moisif Hevel V'Aser. So you can't take a hot plate and put the cholent and whatever and wrap it inside towels, right? You can't take a hot plate and wrap it inside cholent. Put it in the towels. You can't take a hot plate, have a cholent on it, and wrap the towel around that because now the whole entire thing becomes a moisif hevel. He's explaining with that svar. The whole entire thing becomes a moisif hevel. Umiyu kol shubein shabet. Okay, if you have a situation, that's how someone wanted to explain in a minute. If you have a situation like Rav Shalom Yankiv's cup on the thermos, where there's a gap. Where they used to put like a tray and then they would drape the towel over. So that's not the tsuras atmana. That's already not atmana. It's got to be mamish atmana. Atmana means wrapping. And if you don't have wrapping, you're missing the olive base. So if that's the case, so then it is permitted. It is permitted. And then he brings down Hilkach, when you're maimed the ketera on the kira, which has gechalim, and it's noige bechalim, that's called, okay. So if it's not touching the gechalim, that's called shehiyah, and then go learn Reish and Gimel. But if you put vimnasan al kedera kli rachav, like I explained to you, you have a big, pan or something, and the towel's draped over. That's not called atmana, whatever. Then he says, mutter, okay. Then he says, that's not called atmana because it's not wrapped. Okay. Then the Rama brings down. You can do toch petit. Toch petit works. Now comes the Mishnah Berurah, and a long Mishnah Berurah, and he says like this. He says, all this is when there's a fire inside the oven. Aval, if there's no fire in the oven at all, so some want to say, who's Yesh Shoimrim, Rabbi say? Who's Yesh Shoimrim? Some want to say it doesn't answer. What? Shein Lesser Lahamid, that was Rabbeinu Baruch, Bal Tais, Bal Truma. So he says they want to say it's mutter. Why? Shari. Why? The Davka got he's not going with Rabbeinu Baruch. Now he's going with the Rishonim Svara. Man, that because you could dunk it inside. Okay, because you could dunk it inside the gefes. It's not roy. Okay. The gamitam acher, they want to say, the gefes moisef hevel. Over here, it's miskar v'hoilech. That means the Mishnah Berurah says, if you would see somebody, give me an example of this. We have a case. You would see somebody, the oven is off. That'll be a case, right? The oven's off. Erev Shabbos, the oven's off. It's boiling hot inside the oven. Okay, he takes the food, he wraps it in a towel. It's going to cause a fire. That's boiling. I don't know, it sounds a little weird to me to do such a thing. Anybody can be brave enough to do it? So he has like an oven-friendly towel. He's got like some oven-friendly towel on it or something, right? And the food in the oven's off. And he takes this oven-friendly towel and he wraps the food and he keeps it in the oven. And that's what he does every Erev Shabbos. If you see that, Mishabur says now you have 2 svaras to be makel. Svara number 1 is because there's nothing to dunk it into. Svara number 2 is what? Because it's kinskar v'hoyrach. It's going down. Says Mishabur, if you would see this, says Mishabur, some are chayshish not like that. And they say, no way. Even in this case, you should be machmir. Why? Because, now we're getting involved in the rush brings a different svar. Like I said, maybe the only time they were makel is if it wasn't actually touching. But in the case where it's touching, then you have to be machmir. Elin Kane, like I said, you put a big daf and then the towel's not draped over it straight. But if you drape it over straight, no way. The whole thing becomes one big matman agent. What's the Mishnah Berurah's psak on this? Mishnah Berurah says, and that's the psak in the Shulchan Aruch. Mishnah Berurah says, if you want to know what the Shulchan Aruch sheet is, that's the psak. Then the Mishnah Berurah goes on, he says, Mikol Makam, don't put up signs against such people in Me'esharim. They have what to falazich on. Adkan the Mishnah Berurah. He goes on. He goes on. But Adkan are part of the Mishnah Berurah. Rabbi said, Salach l'maisa. If you, according to the Rebbe of the Mishnah Berurah, if you see a hot plate and you see someone with a towel on the hot plate, do you have to put up a sign against him in Me'esharim? Or in a blech? What do you say? Listen to the case I said. The case I said was that there was an oven. The oven was off. I wrapped it in a towel. Mishnah Berurah brought me 2 svaras why I don't have to object. Svar number 1, they could be saying, it's what? Because there's anyways, miskar v'hoylech, it's going down. Svar number 2 is there's nothing you could dunk it into. On a hot plate, you only have one of the svaras. A hot plate, what svar do you have, Rabbi say? You have the svar that you can't dunk it in. But you don't have the svar that's miskar v'hoylech. So now, I don't have a Mishnah Berurah that says you don't have to object. Mishnah Berurah in this case doesn't say you don't have to object, so perhaps I have to put up a sign against him in Me'esharim. Perhaps I do. And this is how the great Goyin Shlomo Zalman Auerbach in the Sefer Shmira Shabbos Kehilchasa in the 228th Ha'ara learned. He said that the Mishnah Berurah would hold, and now we go back to our case. If you walk in Erev Shabbos to the Shvegar, you see over there, hot plate, cholin, wrapped legamrei in a towel. Okay? Says Rosh Hashanah, you have to take out your samurai, right? And you say to her, watch it. Okay? Because she only has one svara to be Saimach on. What? Oh, you got to tell these guys. Rabbi Elbaz, I'm joking. Rabbi Grazi, I'm joking. Right? I'm just joking. Right? Okay, I'm just joking. Rabbi Fiskus. Okay. But Al Kapanim, what? That Rav Shlomo Zalman said the Mishnah Berurah brought 2 svaras. You only have one. The Dibris Moshe. They say Rav Moshe only printed the Sefer Igros Moshe to have money to be able to write the Dibris. That's what I say. Today there'd be one gvir who'd say, "I want this chus," right? It's a different world, But upon him, the Moshe printed the Igros Moshe to have enough money to write the Dibris. So in the Dibris Moshe. In Gimel Lamed Tes, that's what I wrote here. I don't know what it means. I guess Parak Gimel Ha'or Lamed Tes. Yeah, the Oras in the back there. Gimel Lamed Tes. The Dibris Moshe says this Mishnah Berurah is a pella. In other words, it's interesting. He learned the Mishnah Berurah like Rosh Hashanah, and that you must object if you only have one of the svaras. He says, how does the Mishnah Berurah know that there's 2 different svaras over here? It's interesting. Interesting. And that's I'll say it differently. How does he know that these Rishonim are arguing on each other? If you don't have my svara of Miskar v'Oilech, it's also. He says, no, Rabbeinu Baruch was only adding a svara. First of all, it's mutter because you can't dunk it inside. Second of all, it's Miskar v'Oilech. That's what he says. So Moshe learns that with one time, it's enough. If you have one time, it's enough. You need not object. Now, everyone agrees you probably shouldn't do it l'chatchila. The only question we're trying to figure out over here is, do you have to put up, an objection? Do you have to start fighting? So this is interesting. This is interesting. And so what do you say? What do you say? Shouldn't do it. Certainly doesn't answer b'diavad. That's not a discussion, right? Certainly doesn't answer b'diavad. No. You should do it though. Should do it. Okay, let's see. Okay, well, we didn't finish. What's it going to be? All right, you know what? Let me at least finish the rule. Tomorrow we're going straight to the keshke. There's no games. Okay? But let me just finish. There's one last thing here, and then we basically have the rules of these sifim. I don't know what happened today. The last rule is hatmana mitzad echad is it shmei hatmana. The last major rule that you need here for the sugya. The shita of the Shulchan Aruch over here is that hatmana mitzad echad is called hatmana because the Shulchan Aruch says these words. He says, "V'im nasan," the kein mutter laniach kidera betanurim shalanu ayidei. 1 second. No, I missed it. It's in the middle there. He says, if you have a case of where you take the kedera and it's on a tripod, and the pot is not touching the what? The coals. Then it's called shehiyah. But if the pot is touching the coals, then it is the sugya of hatmana. What's the nafkamina if something is the sugya of hatmana? Oh, it's a grace nafkamina. If something is the sugya of hatmana, mitztamik viralai doesn't work. Everything is us, right? Mitztamik viralai doesn't work. Blechs don't work. Akerim don't work. Nothing works. Okay? And the Shulchan Aruch just told us hatmana mitzad echad is called hatmana. That's the shita of the Shulchan Aruch. The Chazanish in Lamed Zayin Yutes concurs with that shita. He shows that that's the shita of most Rishayim. And he therefore says hatmana mitzad echad is shmei hatmana. The shita of the Ramah in Reish Nun Gimel and Sif Aleph, which you learned, but when you're not learning Atmana, so then it's not on your brain because you don't know what the Ramah is coming lafuke. But in Reish Nun Gimel Sif Aleph, he tells us mefurish that the only time it's called Atmana is when it's Atmana all around. Where's that Mishnah? Where's that Ramah? Last words. Yesh Oimre. The Yeshayim, Dafilu imakdera oimedes al gabe ha'esh mamish. Kol zmanchi megula lemala. If it's opened on top, loy mikri atmana v'shari v'kein ha'mimik. And thus is the mimik. So what does it say in this Ramah? The only time you have atmana is, what are the words in the Ramah again? Ramah says, Kol zmanchi megula lemala. What do the words mean, megula lemala? Anybody want to venture a try? What does it mean, megula lemala? Open where? Open on top. So Rabbi Singer just said that if the pot is exposed on top, that means the lid is open. The sides are all covered. You agree with this definition? That you just said. Open on top. Is the lid? If the lid is not covered, is it a problem at or not? Lamala. What's lamala? What's on top of the lid? So let's say you have a crock pot. Let's say you have a crock pot, and a crock pot, usual crock pot has the pot, the heating element, and on top is totally open. It has the lid, obviously, right? But the lid is a part of the clay. But there's nothing covering the lid. According to the Ramah, is that hatmana or not? Say the Amos. What? Not hatmana. It's not hatmana. Not hatmana, right? Magula lamala. It's exposed lamala. Everybody have a problem with that? No? Hatmana lamala. Don't worry, it's not a trick question. Maybe it is. What? What? Who doesn't pass on that? No, the Chazanish holds Atmana mitzad echad Atmana. The Chazanish holds not like the Ramah. No. Say it. I'm going in the Ramah. The Chazanish comes to argue on the Ramah. Chazanish is arguing on the Ramah. He says Ramah's wrong. It's interesting. Chazanish argues on the Ramah, but the Mishnah Berurah, of course, paskins in Shartzian over here in Sivkat Memhei in Reish Nun Ches Beis. He paskins like the Ramah. And Bnei Yisrael's Yaitzim B'Yad Ramah. That's, Mishnah Berurah Reish Nun Gimel Sivkat and Samach Tes over here. He paskins like the man. You don't need, rice. We paskin like the Ramah. But, so to come out like this, if I ask you, crack pot, mutter or aser on Shabbos, nothing to do with Shia. Hatmana. For Sfardim, aser. Doesn't even start, right? A crack pot for Acheinu B'nei Sfardim does not even start because it's for sure Hatmana mitzad echad, right? Hatmana mitzad echad is aser, right? According to the Chazanish, if you're in Bnei Brak, crackpot does not start. It's at least Atmana mitzad echad, right? It's at least mitzad echad. According to the Ashkenazim, is a crackpot mutter also. I'm not talking blechs, nothing to do with blechs. Blechs, no shaykhs blech. Over here, I'm talking about pashat atmana. You're doing atmana. You did something which shows you such a rain in the heating, in the cooking process, whatever. And you have coals all around, and you're inside the coals. You're all around. You have coals. Hatmana mitzad echad for Rabbi Grazi and Rabbi Elbaz. And Rabbi Moyle, it does not even start. Rabbi Gindi, there's no such thing as a crackpot by you. You want to know if maybe B'diavad you guys could be making. It doesn't even start. It does not even start. He writes over here, we have different crackpots. Right? Okay, we have different Sfardim. We'll see soon. But one sec. But we have, it doesn't even start. According to the Ashkenazim, is it mutter to use a crackpot? Mitzad atmana. I'm not talking about mitzad shia. Is it mutter? What would the Ramah do? Would the Ramah use a crackpot on Shabbos? Would he use it? Why not? It's Megula Lamala. Now this is intriguing. So what was the rash in the whole world? We know it came along and said a crackpot's a problem about mana. They started putting tuna cans in there and sardine cans and all types of cans and pickle cans. Right? What the Ramah says mefirish that it's mutter. Chayr. That's going to be one shayla we have to tell you. We didn't learn one word today. What happened? Never happened before. Well, we have 2 working days. Well, we think we can do it? I think we can do it. What? What? I think we can do it. But yeah, but Rabbi side tomorrow's no game. We have to 4:45. That's it. We're gonna very stuck. Rabbi side, look into Kishka. Look into Hatman Mitzad Echad. How do Sfardim use hot plates? We got a lot to talk about. Rabbi side. Rabbi side is Kuntresim here.